Race 5 at Ascot jumps at 3:04. It's the Stephen Bradley 70th birthday handicap over 1,000 metres. And we'll head to Ascot to have a look at the last start performance of Dear Calder.
Fury led, about a length and a half in front, just a fluke. The run comes along the cutaway for Arafura. Here comes Dear Calder, starting to wind up now down the middle of the track. It's extending brilliantly, and at the 100-metre mark, it's Dear Calder sprinting straight over the top of them. It burst to the front, Dear Calder, and is pulling away with a brilliant win. Dear Calder by 2.
Dear Calder was well backed last start, and despite the small field, it was actually a very strongly run race, and really it showed just with a huge turn of foot over the last 600 metres just how good this horse is. It returned with a massive personal best for the horse and something that looks like it's approaching stakes level ability. So for me, it's a clear on top pick. Just needs a bit of clear galloping room from gate 3, but Chloe Azzopardi obviously knows the stable horse as well and should get the best out of this horse once more. It goes on top for me from the 5 to Rise Again. It's another horse that was well supported over the 1,000-metre trip. It was ridden with intent to lead, and I suspect from gate 9 they'll probably try something similar here. There is a few horses drawn inside of it, but the recent effort was good, and it's hard to fault that form coming into a race like this. Third pick is the 6, which is Baron Bostock. It's first up in quite a while without a trial, but just the 2 runs that we've seen from this galloper so far, it will put itself into the race, and it's had some pretty consistent overall ratings. In its first start, it actually ran behind Market Ruler, so that's probably a good pointer for a 1,000-metre race. And then the 4th pick is the 2, Kakadu. It's another horse that's first up after a break without a trial, but its best run last preparation was over 1,100 metres, and it was first up. So with that in mind, it obviously has a bit of ability to run out a good trip first up. On top in race 5 is 1 Dear Calder, from 5 to Rise Again, 6 Baron Bostock and 2 Kakadu. Race 6 at Ascot jumps at 3:45. It's the Varley Kent Johnston handicap over 1,200 metres. And our horse in focus, we haven't seen this galloper in a little while, so we'll have a look at the most recent trial of the Velvet King.
The inside was the Velvet King, and Taylor Stone wills the bend into the straight, leading the way. On the outside and trying to get on level terms again is the Naconian. It does so, moves up quickly the outside with the baldy face. Happy Harry's out wider on the track. Back to the inside of those and being tapped along was Jatumi, and Military Rulers making ground out wider. The Velvet King kicking, the Naconian digging. The Velvet King, the Naconian. The Velvet King's in front, punched out one.
Hoping for a bit of each way value here about the Velvet King because we haven't seen it over 1,200 metres before, so that is a genuine query, but the recent trial was very impressive indeed. It jumped fair, it was bustled to the lead, and it really just dug in late when it was challenged by the Naconian. So I think with that in mind, from gate 1 it should probably put itself into the race. I'm imagining a box seat effort, and all things considered, it should be pretty strong going to the line. It obviously appreciates 1,400 and upwards, and I'm expecting genuine tempo here. So hopefully at each way value, I'll put the Velvet King on top from the 1 special reward, and it's really hard to fault this galloper's preparation. It's just been returning career best after career best, and really it does seem destined to stakes level. From gate 12, it does have a bit of a sticky draw. There's going to be a few other horses that will obviously try and keep it out there, but we thought the same thing potentially last start, and it obviously just took its time getting towards the front. So really, if they do the same thing here, it is clearly the one to beat and will probably start a short favourite once more. Third pick is the 9 Don't Fuss. I think, again, we might get a price on this horse, but all things considered, it ran a huge race last start. It was given a perfect ride, mind you, but the overall figures it returned are the highest coming into this event, and it returned itself with a career best performance over the same trip. So it does tick a few boxes. And then 4th pick is the 3, which is Senorita Benita. It's the horse that's drawn out just on the inside of special rewards, so I'm imagining it will try and come across and lead this event. Just whether or not it can hold out special reward, that's the question, but the horses returned in really good order, and the Fernie camp is flying with their horses that they are bringing to town. Race 6 on top is the 7, the Velvet King, from 1 special reward, the 9 Don't Fuss, and 3 Senorita Benita. Race 7 at Ascot jumps at 4:20. It's the Rod Russell 60th birthday handicap over 1,100 metres. And our horse in focus, we'll have a look at the most recent effort of My Demi.
Horses followed then by Captain Sterling. They're homeward bound at the 250, and Mervin's well clear. It's Mervin 3 in front from Valor Road, running on strongly down the outside. The leader's off his feet. Here's Valor Road and Hoboken. Mervin's gone, tackled by Valor Road. Mighty win, and Valor Road goes home to score a brilliant victory by the 3-year-old.
My Demi just simply got way too far back in that last start where Valor Road really assaulted the line, but it's been a huge form race so far. Valor Road, Hoboken, just two to mention that have come out and won since, and some of the other horses have performed quite well. I think from gate 2, My Demi could possibly settle just that extra little bit forward, but we just saw a huge turn of acceleration late there in the piece in that race. So for me, if it can reproduce that once more, it'll be very hard to hold out. Second pick is the 8, which is Glasgow Girl. It's coming from one of my favoured Narrogin sprint races over 920 metres. Last preparation, it just seemed to be a little bit flat in both runs, so I don't know if there was a small issue there, but certainly it's returned in good order if that run at Narrogin's anything to come off. Third pick is the 7, Soitan Rapido, who should be thereabouts on pace from 12. Whether or not it can lead, that's a question. It does have another story in Just a Fluke drawn inside, so potentially it might be a little bit wide early. And then fourth pick is the 11, Route 88, who I gave one more chance to last start and it had no luck at all whatsoever. It had the tiring leader, DeAndy's, fall straight into its lap, was shuffled way too far back in the field and was never tested at all in the straight. So if you did like it on that occasion, you probably have to follow it up if you think it's suited once more in this race. I think it has claims, but certainly for me, the 2 on top, My Demi, should be pretty hard to beat from 8, Glasgow Girl, the 7, Soitan Rapido, and 11, Route 88. That brings us to the last at Ascot, race 8. It's jumping at 5 o'clock. It's the Vale Tony Layton handicap over 21.50. And our horse in focus, we'll have a look at the most recent performance of Arctic Stream.
They turn and Nawadaroo leads Arctic Stream by a half, and then a length and a half away. Proper Randy's running on well. Salon de Chevelle begged to differ 5 degrees, and his Touch of Silver starting to wind up right down the extreme outside. Arctic Stream, Nawadaroo, Touch of Silver lunging at them. Here's a finish, Touch of Silver.
It's a really difficult horse to catch, Arctic Stream, but it's a great horse to own, obviously. Connections will be wrapped with this horse's performances so far this preparation, if only could just win one of them. But look, it is down in class and it finds another suitable race with a good draw from 5. Jared Noske jumps on board, one of the strongest riders in the state, and it just seems to land in a good spot for this event. So for me, I'll have to have Arctic Stream on top. From the 7, which is Palace Rogue, it's again drawn out super wide, and we saw it doing a bit of extra work last start. Wasn't necessarily in the best part of going either. It had a few other horses challenge it early for the lead, and it was still very strong late in that race behind Diplomat Express. So I think for me, you can follow up Palace Rogue once more if you liked it last start. 6 is my third pick, Summer's Sky. It probably just gets a little bit further back in this field. We've seen the last few starts, it's been ridden more forward. Last start, it managed to get the job done after being heavily backed and sitting outside the leader. Previously, it had no luck at all, 3 wide without cover for a couple of starts. So it certainly has claims over this trip. And then the 4th pick is the 9, which is 23 Red, who is probably not suited before the race, after the race, or during the race. The poor thing had to stand around the barriers for about half an hour or so as the rest of the field returned to the stabling area. It was slow away, probably because it had burnt half of its energy running around, and then it still managed to find late in that race. So for me, it could certainly follow up 23 Red. It's probably dying out for a good gate, which it gets here. 1 on top for me, Arctic Stream from 7, which is Palace Rogue, 6 Summer Sky, and 9, 23 Red. Best bets at Ascot, race 4, number 3, Inflation, and race 5, number 1, Dear Calder. That's all for us here on the box seat. If you'd like to keep up to date with us here at Perth Racing, keep in touch via our website or on social media. Until next time, I'm Pete Anthonus. Good punting and go well.